Hello, and welcome to a throwback episode for tonight's The Cosmic Force. I am Caleb, one of your co-hosts. For tonight, we're going to be looking back at the wild and adventurous times of the 1977 original Marvel comic run, written by various authors and various artists, but we're going to be kind of looking at some of the beginning series after it took some roots, talk about some of its characters. I think we're in for a wild time here. Even if you haven't read it, I think it might be more surprising that way, in fact. So without further ado, let's begin going around the table here. And let's start where we always start, with our wonderful producer and co-host, the great Emma Park. Emma, how are we doing tonight?
Hi everybody. Yeah, I'm doing good. This is going to be a really fun topic. We haven't actually discussed the 1977 run since our episode titled our craziest moments in comics we love or something like that. It was way
Something
back
like
in
that.
the 30s or 40s of our episodes. So, yeah, if you're looking for some other fun tidbits from that, definitely check that out. But that's what actually inspired this episode. Tyler had brought up some like crazy facts from the 77 series as the crazy moments he loves, and then we just had to make it, a big episode about it, getting a little bit more, analytical and stuff. So, yeah, should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. The stream is looking great, so everything looks great, even though
Yes,
we do
thank
have a
goodness.
special co-host. I was saying he's less a special guest and more like our reoccurring seasonal character, the one and only Jared Mays. Jared, how are you doing?
His name is Valence, and the band of galactic mercenaries who follow him are bounty hunters. Yet no one here has a prize on their head. Wait, I'm supposed to have this read before now? Hey guys, happy to be here, talking about some admittedly wacky Star Wars comics.
Yes.
Emma, you remember when I got this? I was with you.
Yes, I do remember that. Oh my goodness, such good memories.
Very much so. Happy to make some more memories here tonight.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we were that was the first time I met anybody from Utini. Jared and I went to a comic shop and he bought the issue of Valence's first appearance.
And this one with Lumaya's Light Whip. A couple
Yes.
of bangers, by the way. I've read some crazy issues out of this Marvel series. These were two especially, wrong one here, especially standout issues. And out of all the ones for me to just randomly find at that comic book store, great,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
great picks.
Light whips, which are, I guess, back in canon now because of Ernesto Rowe.
That's
But
right.
True.
maybe that'll be the last time we mention the High Republic. We got to go not even to the Old Republic, but to the original Empire. So before we get too far gone, we do have to do some table cleaning here. So if you're joining us for the very first time live, welcome. We are a Star Wars comics podcast that will broadcast live right here on youtube.com/utini every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. If you cannot join us live, that's okay. We're also available on all your favorite podcast platforms. We are a part also of the Utini podcast network of shows, and a Discord channel at utini.com/Discord with over 1,000 members and dozens of great lively channels to choose from. Like what you see and you want to say thanks, then head over to our Patreon channel at patreon.com/Utini. That's YOUTINI, where for as little as just $5 a month, you can gain exclusive access to the entire network of shows, as well as exclusive merch, community involvement, activities. Emma, do we have any new patrons this week that we want to specifically shout out?
Oh, we do, we do. It's been a while since we've had some new patrons, so I'm glad to see not one, but two new patrons on here. First up, we've got Corey Herndon, who joined as a monthly patron. Thank you so much, Corey. Really appreciate it. And then the really, really big one here, really exciting. We were all talking about this in Slack, just how excited we were to see a new Jedi High Council member, and that's Robert Thomas. Robert, seriously, thank you so, so much for your generosity. It really means the world to us, and yeah, to both of you, thank you. And I really hope that that you'll enjoy everything that our Patreon has to offer. And I teased this on Living Force when I was on last week, but definitely keep your eye out for something new on your Patreon feeds very soon. Definitely something in the works that I'm excited for everybody to see. So yeah, if that tease isn't a reason to join, I don't know what else is.
Color me
So
intrigued.
yeah, I know. Like, not, I don't think very many people actually know about it, even on the team. So I think it'll be a surprise even to them. So looking forward to that.
Is this the thing with Freddy? You doing the thing with Freddy? Freddy's got a
Oh,
thing.
he has a thing
Oh.
too?
Freddy's keeping a secret thing from me. You're keeping secret things. Ah!
What is going on? I didn't know about Freddy's secret thing.
Yeah, Freddy's got a thing. I think it involves martial arts. He's here in the chat, so he
What?
knows. We don't know, but he
I was
knows.
about to say, dear listener, if you're concerned about all these secrets, join our Patreon, and there's
You're
no
concerned.
secrets to our patrons.
No, they probably know.
Exactly. Yeah, you know all the secrets the moment they come out. So,
Absolutely.
well, I'm personally excited to see Freddy's secret, and yeah, okay, that'll be really cool.
Exactly.
So
Speaking of coming out, we have just one issue this week, right, Emma?
that's correct. Yeah, one issue with a really sweet cover here, might I add. So this
Whoa.
is Halcyon Legacy issue number 5, the end of the Halcyon Legacy miniseries, might I add. The subtitle is Part 5, The Path of the Sungrazer. Written by Ethan Sachs, pencils by Will Sliney, colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, letters by Joseph Bino, and the cover is by E.M. Geist. So, as always, you can buy this issue. There's a link down below in the description. And yeah, definitely check it out. I haven't had a chance to read this particular issue yet, but I've been really digging the Halcyon Legacy series. So I'm really looking forward to how it wraps up. And I think, you know, we're going to keep Halcyon fever, so to speak, going with Princess and the Scoundrel coming out soon here. So yeah, it's a good time for that ship, I would say, except for maybe in real life, because the reservations have been down, like, you know, not as many reservations as they've been expecting. But in our fictional universe, it's been doing really good. Yeah,
that means maybe that means that they've decided to lower the prices soon if they're not getting enough traffic, you know?
That's
everybody, let's hope for that. If you're watching this and you're thinking about purchasing a trip to the Halcyon, hold off. Because we need everybody to boycott it for a second so that we can, like, you know,
just a season, so
yeah,
that
just
they can
boycott, right?
Yeah, oh, you know, and spend that money on Patreon.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, save your money.
It's a boycott because it's organized, but essentially we're just waiting for it to go on sale.
Yes, that's exactly right. We're being smart consumers, you know.
Leveraging our buying power. So yeah, I am excited about the Halcyon Legacy. I read the first issue when it came out and I actually really enjoyed it, but then I decided, you know, I'll wait till all 5 of them are out, till the series is done, so I can just read it all in an afternoon, can't get the full story. So I'm real excited. I didn't realize that this been a hot second since I looked at the cover. I'm like, oh, it's my boy Bosk, you know, everyone's favorite Thrandoshan. Well, second favorite Thrandoshan. So yeah, I'm excited for what's going on in this series.
Yeah, definitely. So Caleb, it looks like we do have an art of the week this week.
Yes, we
tell us
do.
About that?
Absolutely. This was a tough one. We had 2 great submissions, but this time I decided, just because I like the way the very specifically I picked this one because the way the art moved across it. It's from Diligent Sloth. This one was from Maul 2000 by pencils by the ever wonderful Jan Dursma, who's now back doing covers for the Mandalorian limited series, which is
awesome.
great. Inks by Rick Mayagar and colors by Dave McCraig. This one, you see Maul himself intimidating a Doug in the name of Palpatine. I just like how there's a lot of great things, like each scene you can see like a real display of action, a very cinematic quality, especially in the bottom right corner. You see the pendant there like dropping and falling onto the floor. You get the the spiky symbol of the Sith there in the background of the dark sun there, with the spikes and the background. It's just a lot of really great action going on. Red colorations, intimidations, action lines, and it's not as apparent in some of her other work, but you do see some great flowy capes here.
I was just gonna say, man, look at those tunics, the
Yeah.
wrinkles in the tunic. Man, I love Dursuma with every fiber of my friggin' being. Look at that Doug's nose tendrils flowing in the wind. Man, those look
Nose
great.
tendrils.
They look
And
so good.
Nose mustaches, fleshy stashes.
Flesh stashes.
Yeah,
That's disgusting.
That's a slippery
Exactly.
slope
I
for
can't.
sure.
I will shout out Eric in the chat. He's been making some great puns, but as he said, I really dug this panel.
Took me a second to get it. It looks like Darth Maul's picking his nose with his lightsaber.
I
doesn't it?
thought so too. I thought he was like giving him a nose ring or something, you know?
Maybe that's because I live with two little girls who are just constantly picking noses. Their own noses, but just constantly. It's
That's way more wholesome than the scene from Chinatown I was thinking of.
just Booger City up in here. And you're never going to have me back on the show after this. But great pick, Diligent Sloth. We love it.
Yes, thank you.
Pick. No, we'll bring you back. You've already ruined us with Naked Palp, so
Yeah, it can't go much worse than that.
exactly.
Don't know what you're talking about.
You were literally talking about in the pre-show, the birth of a meme.
I wasn't there.
I wasn't there, but we got some. So now we got the great art of the week again. Thank you, Diligent Sloth. You did that's a fantastic job. Thank you for everyone who submits their artwork week after week. We always pick our favorites, not our favorite person. So even if you've never submitted one before, whether it's a cover, a whole page, just a single panel, please hit us up on discord.com/Utini. Our little sub channel is the Cosmic Force one. We always post our videos. We try to interact with our fans there. Just, put some artwork there. One of these weeks, you may be shouted out on these very hallowed halls of this show itself. So,
especially if it's a Legends pick and I'm on the show,
Yeah.
I will make sure it gets on air.
Yeah, and I just realized like that pick was super serendipitous because, it was drawn by Jan Dursuma. And I didn't even put two and two together. You're going to be on the show, gives you an opportunity to talk about Jan.
That's probably one of my top 10 favorite Legends comics.
I've never read it.
That early Darth, it's just a miniseries, so you can binge it in the evening. It's one of her earliest contributions to her Star Wars career.
2000, so I think that tracks there. Before when her and Ostrander started the Republic series.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Goes really good with that new Darth Maul Shadowhunter Essential Legends Collection audiobook read by Sam Witwer. You could just read this as to get hyped ahead of time, or read it afterward if you're looking for some more Maul. Woo, getting excited.
Absolutely. Speaking of exciting things, we got some notable things from the group as we like to tag basically what we're doing Star Wars wise here. So Emma, you just simply say here in bold and with a couple exclamation points something very exciting.
Yeah, so actually, like, believe it or not, I left okay, so it's gonna be kind of like a show and tell. I left the thing that I was gonna show downstairs. So Caleb, I'm gonna toss it to you.
Okay.
You two behave while I run downstairs. Okay.
Yes, Mom.
All right. Go for it, Caleb.
Go. Well, okay, not too much really. I don't know if I can talk about this. I hope you've run quick, but I finished The Lost Stars by Claudia Gray. Her first
I love that
novel.
you said it with the definite article. The Lost Stars.
The Lost Stars. Well, isn't it technically Lost Stars: A Road to Star Wars? Rise of The Force Awakens.
Journey to Star Wars: The Force Awakens: Lost Stars. That sounds right to me.
Exactly. I think that's how it actually is. So if I want to call it The Lost Stars, too bad. It's
Knock
good.
Yourself out. That's right.
It's a great novel. It deserves our place in a foundational 5. It's a great intro, as we like to say, to Star Wars. If you've seen the movies and enjoyed them and you want to get it a little deeper, this might sound a little sacrilegious, but it's a little kind of like a forced Gumpian ride through Star Wars.
Oh, I can see that.
Of how we have our main characters in the background and highlights of major historical events. There's a lot of good stuff there. Like I will say this again because we're a comic show, the manga version of it is actually really, really good. Like there's I can't tell if which one I like better. I feel like there's a couple moments in the manga where it actually did it better. Like the character of Wind Rider is actually way like there's just they made like two changes and he's so much worse in the manga. It's brilliant. If you haven't read it, hit me up. I'll tell you if you want me to spoil it. But there's just some great stuff.
I love when Star Wars stories are adapted across different mediums.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Speaking of which, next week, Dark Empire, there's an audio drama for Dark Empire that's very good. See how I just made this conversation about Dark Empire? You're welcome. But Lost Stars is great. I was thinking about it today. There was a Lost Stars Easter egg in a Star Wars thing I'm reading right now. I don't want to say. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to yet. And I was like, oh, we got some Lost Stars up in here. And then I spent like the next 30 minutes being sad that there's not a Lost Stars 2.
A Lost Stars.
Okay, I did think about what would the title be if there was a Lost Stars 2. Lost Stars 2, Lost Harder.
Jared, I think I know what you're talking about, and that makes me really excited.
And then the trilogy is the Lost-ist Stars.
Wow.
Lost Stars 3. We found him. Repeat. We found him. I don't know.
That's good. That's good.
Working on it.
All right. Well, I'll toss it back to me because I have quickly sprinted up and down the stairs.
Good job, Emma.
Thank you. I'm a little winded, but that's okay. So during last week's show, it was suggested, I don't know if anyone's going to remember this. It was suggested that I purchase something. Caleb, do you remember this?
Was it a toy? Because was it last week you showed off the no, that was a couple of weeks ago when you showed off the big toy you got from the Star Tours.
Right. So this is cool. Actually a comic that I purchased during the show last week. I haven't even taken the plastic off of it yet, but I think you can see.
There it is. There
it is. I'm gonna take the plastic off of it. Justin did, yes.
What a sleek cover. When you showed off that the Star Tours vehicle, I literally pulled my bicycle over to pull out my phone to see what it looked like.
I love that so much, Jared. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, they protected my treasured item very well. Okay. Here it is.
Unboxings.
Oh yeah, in all its glory.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
So shiny.
I love it. Oh, I need to like hang it or something. Like find a way to hang this. Oh.
Get like a record frame.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Or like a shadow box or something, you know? Oh.
There you go.
Everybody knows how much I love this comic. I talk about it basically every show. And now I own a physical version of it, so
for our audio listeners,
Amazon. Yes, yeah. For our audio listeners, I bought the trade paperback of Mutiny at Moncala. So finally, I'm shocked I didn't have it yet. Everybody else was shocked I didn't have it yet. And during the show last week, I went on Amazon, said they only had one left, and I was like, oh gosh. So
really, I feel like they always say they only have one left.
Yeah.
Now my question is, now that you have this one, how long till you get the special Leia minifigure that comes with her outfit from that cover?
Oh, the Black series? It's on pre-order. It's on pre-order, yeah.
So we're just waiting on Amazon / UPS.
Yes, that's correct. I think it comes out in like, I actually think it comes out like next year, actually, like early next year. And yeah, I mean, I've been canceling a lot of pre-orders lately just to like try to save some money, but I came across that one and I was like, I already have like 3 Leia Black series, but I still need it, you know?
But that just means it's the start of your collection. You can't not see it all the way through, right?
Exactly. I'm gonna need like all the Leias, you know? So anyways, I'm really happy about that. And the other thing too, soon, I don't know if anybody can see, so I hung my celebration what is it, the lanyards up there like a while ago, and you might notice that there's a new one up there, and that's because in the mail I just got my tickets for Fan Expo Boston.
Oh yes.
And that is next weekend, so I'll still talk to you guys one more time before then. But I'm really excited, and I don't know, I think I'll wait to tell you what I'm doing. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think there's going to be 2 Star Wars celebrities that I'm meeting, and then 1 author that is going to be there. So I'll wait and share all of that when the day comes, and it should be a lot of fun. My sister's coming with me, even though she is not the biggest Star Wars fan, but she was hoping, like, when we got the tickets, we got them like 6 months ago. She was hoping that there would be some Marvel people there. There's no one from Marvel going, so but we're gonna like shop around a little bit and see if we can find some Marvel Funkos. We actually have like a joint collection. We just like pool money together and like buy like our favorite characters Funkos, and we put it in like a little office that we share, and yeah, so it should be a lot of fun. Hopefully she'll
That's the
be
cutest thing
patient
I've
with
ever heard.
me, because yeah, I know we love it. We love it. So yeah, those are my two updates. Jared, what do you got for us?
Well, now I'm sad that I don't live close to Boston anymore because
Oh, I know. Oh, we could
I'm
have
gonna
gone
have
together,
this
dude.
kind of you're killing me.
Ah.
But I do live close to a really, really cool comic book store, and I went last weekend on my day off, and I went in search of, I wanted to get a nice, clean, crisp copy of Star Wars number 25, kind of a
Yeah.
monumental episode, issue, all that good stuff, the Charles Soule bad boy. Now, I chose to just get the standard cover
Nice.
because I'm a Legends guy. I don't need to spend too much on canon. It is great. I was happy to get that. As soon as I walked out the store, you know what I realized?
What'd you realize?
Did not get the first appearance of Baby Yoda in
Oh.
Mandalorian #1.
Yeah,
and we
it's
had somewhere else
important.
to be. And I looked at my wife and I was like, I'm going to go back in and get it. And she was like, are you freaking kidding me? And I was like, I'll go another time. So I did not do that. In terms of what I've been reading lately, did enjoy Star Wars 25. My Legends world, just to rub it in Tyler's face a little bit, but almost done with Luke Skywalker and the Shadows of Mindor.
Is that just like an explosion behind him?
Yeah, so the entire book is, wait for the roundtable on Legends Look Back coming in 2027. This book is seriously, the entire book is a meme. The entire
in like
is
a good way.
So it's Matthew Stover, the author of Revenge of the Sith, one of the greatest Star Wars writers who ever lived. He basically flexed his writing muscle with this. Instead of writing something Shakespearean and profound like Revenge of the Sith, he wrote something wacky and ridiculous. So the entire book is an unreliable narrator story from Luke Skywalker recounting an adventure, but like maybe, and I'm not there at the end yet, I think my theory is this is actually an in-universe movie about the adventures of the rebellion heroes and Luke Skywalker. So everything is at an 11 the entire time, and Luke is super, super heroic, and it is, and I could not say this seriously enough, bonkers.
Some harsh words coming here.
It is just bonkers.
And by the way, if Jared calls something bonkers, that means it truly is bonkers, because Jared has read some crazy stuff in Legends, okay?
Sure. Yeah, it is. Anyway, I'm almost done with it. It's enjoyable, but ridiculous. All right.
The fact that you don't even know what's going on is my favorite part.
So yeah, that brings me back to the explosion. The explosion is a meme. That's my theory. That it's not a serious cover, that it's like an action movie.
Oh, that's interesting.
I was about to say, it looks like an N64 game cartridge.
Also, I've got another theory that the Luke Skywalker on this cover is actually the villain.
You mean
inhabiting
like
Luke Skywalker's body, which happens.
What?
The villain, body snatchers thing. So that's the crazy thing, is that Luke Skywalker in the Shadows of Mindor, it's not actually Luke Skywalker on the cover. It's his corpse. It's his body,
Dude,
but it's not.
It's a Shadow of Mindor.
It's ridiculous. All right, I got one more thing. This, just for tonight's special episode.
Ooh.
I bought this at Star Wars Celebration. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
I'm here.
I bought.
Oh my god.
Tiny book.
Where the heck did you find that?
That's the first cover of the 77, but what is that?
I bought this at the Inside Editions booth at Celebration. Freddie and Emily and I were on a quest to find all the Legends things at Celebration, which was a really fun game to play. And there wasn't a ton, but there was some. Yeah. This is one of the things that I got, and it is the complete Marvel Comics covers, Volume 1 is what this is called. The complete Marvel Comics covers, Volume 1. And
looks like we lost your video, Jarrett.
Yeah, I
keep describing it though while I work on it.
Sure. And let me know if I need to do something too.
Yeah.
So this has all kinds of, I don't know that it has every single one, but like the covers of the classic Marvel comics in it, but they're seriously like 2 inches by 2 inches tall. It fits in the palm of my hand. So it is a incredibly insanely tiny little collectible book.
You can
And then
take it with you.
it also moves into canon comics covers in the same volume as well, which is really cool. And I bought it for Emily, knowing that she doesn't actually collect a lot of big books because she moves a lot, but this was so
Right.
small she could stick it in her purse. Yeah, my phone died, so I'm gonna try to fix it, Emily. Emma, you.
That's okay. I'm setting up one with just Caleb and I right now.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Sorry, folks, for like that big black, little rectangle up there. I am quickly.
I promise I tested my stuff before I came on the show.
No, I believe you. I believe you. That's no
The
worries.
world
Tested.
couldn't
He
handle
just
the
did it.
cuteness of my tiny book.
I
That's all that
know.
happened.
It was like,
He
you want to see
tested.
this
He
tiny
just
book?
in charge.
Never mind. All
Such
right,
a
Caleb, here we
tease.
go.
All right. So with that, we don't really have a show ad. I think we're working on that next. So we'll get some highlights. So we'll be able to laugh at our funniest meme moments here again soon. But we should be able to get into the main topic now of what, as I said at the top of the show, the Star Wars 77 run. We want to take a look at the past arcs from the very start of it. I don't think we're going to be getting into like major spoiler territory. There's a lot going on in this series, but what I mainly focused on was like about issues like 20 to 40-ish, because that's when it was in the Wild West days, like the attack of the clones of the original trilogies wasn't even out yet. The Empire Strikes Back was not even in production. So there's a lot of like really wild stuff they have going on. So we got some fun issues we want to highlight, a couple of characters we want to talk about, and some other just general observations. So Emma, have you done any reading on this yourself?
I've read some issues before. I haven't done any additional reading for this week. But what I can say is that I did do some research on Wikipedia. Also, just did some like general random flipping through pages in Marvel Unlimited, and I find the art style to be extremely interesting. It's
I will say
very,
good in a fast. It's fascinating and good and interesting, but maybe not in like a Star Warsy way. In a kind of like a retro 70s sort of way.
Yes, it's very, very 70s. The colors are very bright, and the other thing I noticed with a lot of the art is that the characters are always like very power of the forcey, right? So like they're like very muscular and buff,
yes.
Like stormtroopers look like each stormtrooper looks like they could have been a background extra on Baywatch, like huge broad shoulders, like bulging muscles out of their armor.
Yeah, Jackson.
And Jackson is, I mean, he is buff, like, so that's always super interesting. And another thing that I remember, like from the issues that I read, and also like the little bit of research that I did, is that the enemies are like, they're goofy, like I remember there was one issue where there was like, it literally looks like Dracula, and standing next to him was what literally looked like a werewolf, and it just felt like really like something like we would see here on Earth, and it felt weird to be in Star Wars. You know what I mean? I think it's
make
ironic.
The handful of really, really good villains in this stand out.
Agreed. Yeah.
When you finally get to a story arc that's like, this is pretty good, it's like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it is very pulpy. Just like, all right, let's crank these suckers out.
Yeah. It's like you gotta have a few weak links
before
to appreciate it all,
That's right.
Exactly. Now, speaking of villains, one issue I was reading it, I was fascinated with, and I really liked it a lot, was issue number 28, subtitled "The Cavern of the Crawling Death."
Wow, that's
this
a title.
one. Yeah, it's even better in this one. It features Han Solo and Chewbacca versus Jabba the Hutt. Yes, this was like Jabba's like first like actual appearance in a Star Wars medium.
Is he a slug?
No, he's like a monkey looking dude.
That is Monkey Jabba, and I have a lot to say.
Okay. So we won't get too far into this one, but I do want to say this. I found it interesting that essentially the plot is Han Solo and Chewbacca have to like land a Millennium Falcon in a cavern on a planet as they like hold out against Jabba's goons, in a little protracted gunfight there. There's some really fun like moments of them taunting back to each other. I did find there's one panel where you see like Jabba like out in the rain yelling at Han Solo, and you see a minion like behind him with like essentially a laser umbrella, like
A laser
vaporizing all the
umbrella.
he's like it looks like he's vaporizing all the rain that's falling down onto him. So even though like this is not something like Jabba's character hasn't been written in the canon yet, like they are still like really playing up the ultra rich
Yeah.
jerkwad here. Like that's something that Slug Jabba would absolutely do.
Now, Jared,
Couple,
do you want to take a moment just while we're on the subject of Monkey Jabba? Would you
Jabba,
like
that's
to
correct.
discuss? I have an image here.
Okay.
yes.
Here's the scoop on Monkey Jabba, and much of my knowledge comes from John Jackson Miller himself. On one of the earliest episodes of The Living Force, John Jackson Miller, you guys, if every single listener of this needs to go back and find this, it is golden. Within the first 2 or 3 minutes of his first interview on The Living Force back in 2019, John Jackson Miller goes deep down the rabbit hole on Charles and Eric and Corey, and he goes off on a tangent about Monkey Jabba that is golden. They are just speechless. They are floored. These boys, they're like, who have we brought on our show? He works in this character. His name is Moset Benid. This is before the Slug character is designed for Return of the Jedi. If you're a Gen Z like Emma, that scene in episode 4 with Jabba and where Han walks on his tail.
Yeah.
That's not in the original movie.
I remember seeing like there's also a version where it had Jabba as just like a human with like a fur coat or something.
I believe that's a deleted scene that then
Yeah.
was dubbed over with the terrible CG Jabba. Don't get me started on it, but this in the original adaptation of A New Hope, right, of Star Wars, this is Jabba. Jabba the Hutt with 1 T is Monkey Jabba. He then is retconned all these years later to be Moset Benid, Jabba's stand-in, like his right-hand man.
Wait, is this the dude from the Kenobi book?
He's in Kenobi. John Jackson Miller works in Moset Benid.
No way.
He goes and he's like, Oren Gold, you have done me wrong. And then Obi-Wan spills the coins all over the warehouse. And it's this character from Star Wars 1977, Monkey Jabba, Moset Benid. Boom, mic drop.
Wild.
Yeah.
Oh, and I just had to look it up. Oh, the episode for The Living Force was episode 23, the series where they interviewed John Jackson Miller. For our fans out there, if you want to go back, it's The Living Force episode 23.
He'll tell you everything you need to know about Monkey Jabba within the first 5 minutes. And then the reaction from the Living Force crew to like, where do we go from here? How do we get this interview back on the rails is spectacular.
I feel like I need to go back and watch this now.
Yeah,
It's
you got to
amazing.
listen to it. It's pre-video days, but it's because if they'd have put up an image of Moset Benid, it would have broke the internet. We'll see if it can handle what we just showed him.
Absolutely. I can't really top that, but there's still a couple things I'd want to
go
talk
from
about
Monkey Jabba?
this issue here, because there's some fascinating things. Because as I said, Han Solo and Chewbacca with the Falcon are trapped in a cavern, and they realize that the cavern is overrun with stone mites, which they say Han says, "Oh no, these things were genetically made during the Clone Wars." And that's a fun like throwaway line because Obi-Wan mentioned it, but now knowing what we do know, like have these bugs like are genetically engineered to eat metal. And that's like one of those things that one of those sides in the Clone Wars would definitely have wanted a bug that ate only metal things.
Oh, the Jedi?
What? Wait,
like the Republic? That's
exactly.
You mean metal things? You mean metal things like Darth Vader?
No, like droids.
Oh, okay. Oh, they knew that even before like
they
knew
did
about
well,
what
okay.
battle droids even were.
This is
They
Caleb's fan
didn't
theory retcon, but it's
Yeah,
good.
exactly. It's a fan theory. It's a total retcon. There's zero way they knew that the Clone Wars
Yeah.
was actually against a group of clone soldiers made by the Emperor versus a trade federation, mainly made by battle droids, also working for the Emperor. There's no way they would have known that. But it's a fun little it's weird how these things tie together. That a little buggy metal eating swarm would target only metal made creatures was used in the Clone Wars, as they specifically said. Now here's another fun thing. It just got me it may not a 1-to-1 ratio, but there's a very exciting scene where our crew has to repair their ship really quickly as a giant swarm of bug creatures starts attacking them. And the whole reason they've crash landed there is because they had a run-in with the local law enforcement there. Now, you might be thinking, why does this sound familiar? I think
Why
this
does it
was
sound familiar? I don't know.
episode 2 of The Mandalorian season 2. Remember when he was stuck on the ice planet?
Oh.
Mandalorian does have some strong old school Marvel Comics
Yeah.
vibes to it.
There I didn't write it down, but there's another like 4 or 5 issues later, our Star Warriors return to Tatooine, and there's a scene where they leave their spaceship, go into town, and they come back, and a Jawa sandcrawlers there, and their ship is completely disassembled by
Is there?
Jawas.
It would not surprise me for one friggin' second if Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni like these comics.
Oh,
Would not
absolutely.
surprise
No,
me.
yeah.
it would be more. It'd be more surprising that they came up with this idea independently themselves. Like they
Right.
absolutely must have sat around their. I would hope. I was about to say their conference table, but I just actually hope it was like a shooting room floor on the carpet, just in their socks, just pulling out all the
Pull out their
comics and flipping
Legos
through.
out of out of their Walmart bags.
Really?
Hey, wouldn't it be cool? No, I won't try to do Dave. Sorry, Dave. Anyway.
Almost. Yeah, it's almost there.
Exactly. So no,
I
it
need
was
my hat. I could have done the impression if I'd have had my hat.
Right.
Issue 28. If you want a weird thing that ties into so much more than you thought it would, issue 28 of the 77 run. It's just like a fascinating microcosm of what that series was about, and yet still plays into the greater Star Wars universe. And I know about the Jabba the Hutt versus Jabba the Hutt thing.
Yeah. Monkey Jabba with one T, and then Jabba the Hutt is a slug later, but they didn't know, and they had the name, and that was what was crazy about this series. There were so many of those liberties taken that obviously once the universe really got to cooking, they had to say, you know what, let's put all of those old Marvel comics kind of on the back burner, and we'll never reference them except for every now and then.
Except for
something
when we
40
want,
years except for 40 years later, when we're rebooting and making some of the best Star Wars content, we'll actually steal a bunch of ideas from this.
That's right.
Which is so fascinating, honestly, when you think about it. I wonder if they thought, when they were writing and drawing these comics, I wonder if they thought this is gonna be relevant 40 years later, even in the slightest way. You know what I mean? Oh.
I highly doubt it. I think they were writing about as far ahead as their nose was, just constantly putting things out. So that was one of my ones I really wanted to talk about. Jared, did you have a couple you wanted to highlight here?
Yes. Now, a couple that I read in preparation for this episode we'll get to in the character-centric section. However, a couple that we won't necessarily get into in great detail then would be the very first arc after the adaptation of the original film. This story arc is called 8 for Aduba 3. It's Star Wars issues numbers 7 through 8. Here's the ridiculous thing. I've heard Trevor and Jose talk about this in Star Wars Archives, but reading it and seeing it with my own 2 eyes is a whole nother thing. What's that?
No, I remember reading this from my local library when I was must have been 10 or 12. They had a collection of the early Star Wars there. So I read this a couple times before my teenage years were even upon me.
The crazy thing is the very first Star Wars expanded universe story in the comics. So not counting the original novelization or Splinter of the Mind's Eye, the very first story to advance the story of Star Wars before The Empire Strikes Back comes out introduces Jackson. The very
That's
Yes.
wild. It's wild.
story introduces Jackson.
I
love
can't
that he's
even
still
believe
relevant all these years later. So this story is basically, Caleb, you said it's an adaptation kind of a Kurosawa film. What is it?
Yeah, the Seven Samurai was the original Kurosawa film, but then it was remade here in the States as the Magnificent Seven. I think even Roger Corman did like a sci-fi version of it too. Like, I'm going to have to Google this, but yeah, it is a very classic tale of down under luck street toughs warriors are hired out by a local village who is being raided by bandits, so they hire a bunch of mercenaries to try to protect themselves.
Yeah, that's this. But Han Solo goes off. Han and Chewbacca go off alone on a mission, and then they find themselves. It's kind of crazy. There's like a religious controversy, which I enjoyed. There's a priest.
Because of the droids.
Oh, actually,
yes.
I think I've read this. I kind of remember it. Like, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, there's almost like a joke of what happens if Han Solo and a priest and
and a bantha
and a monkey-looking bear, which is Chewbacca. He looks just like a monkey. In these stories,
I would almost going to say like really off model, but like that's the model they were using, so I can't really say they're not.
So these are some of my notes. A lot of the old crusty farts look fantastic. So Vader looks dope in this series. Tarkin looks fantastic. They really nailed Biggs's mustache, I think, because it was the 70s and people really, really loved mustaches. Also, Jacob loves his mustache, and nothing wrong with that. All right, but all of the young guns, Han and Luke and Chewie, look rough.
They look like they've seen some stuff, yeah.
Oh man. And you'll feel like you've seen some stuff after this.
Yeah.
And so in this series, it's very much an out of the frying pan into the fire kind of Western thing. Han goes into a town, gets in a bar fight, and then he has to recruit this team of ridiculous whippersnappers. I mean, you've got the Futurama droid, but on tank treads, and he tries to go up the stairs. Kid you not. This is in the first 10 issues of Star Wars ever made in the history of Star Wars comics.
A porcupine. They recruit a porcupine.
Yes, the porcupine is dope. Don't you talk bad about my
now I'm like, did
guy.
I actually read this? I would have remembered a porcupine, right?
He is okay, but he's like a bear, but he has porcupine quills, and he says, and I quote, "I don't need blasters when I've got my quills." And he shoots the
quills?
The bad guys at the dinosaur, the dinosaur that shoots the friggin' laser beam out of its head. And I'm not joking. This is real.
No, he's not. This is all.
No, I know. I feel like I've read it, but now when you're describing it, it kind of sounds like you have taken some substances.
No, they were on the substances. It's not me. That's the point. Right. That's how this series got made.
It's just the 70s.
Not to besmirch our great heroes. We love this stuff. We make fun of it in jest because we love it. And exactly. I genuinely fell in love with the series while reading it in preparation for this episode, because when I think that the series is over, when I think that this first storyline with Han going to the town and there's the crew and then the bandits, when I think, oh, they've done it, congratulations, they've defeated the enemy, it's the end of the big final battle, boom, the wizard unleashes the behemoth from the earth. And Emma, do we have the picture of my dinosaur with his laser beam?
Oh yes,
head?
I think
because
so.
I'm very proud to get to make the joke that they've got friggin' laser beams on their heads.
Here we go.
Yep, there it is.
And then the rest of the issue is everybody fighting the dinosaur with the friggin' laser beams on its head.
If those see the image, if you look at the bottom, you see Chewie looking at Han with the most like reserve, like what the
He's
hell?
He's like, yo, what is going on?
Like, my life debt got me into some weird stuff, man. I don't like this.
That was me looking at Emma after I had to read these in preparation for this episode.
Yeah. He's like, what did you? I mean, to be fair, Jared, like, when you look back at it, I read some weird stuff for Legends Look Back, man. It's about time I made you read something weird.
This has got to be way weirder than anything I've ever made you read.
Agreed, although you did introduce me to Shizor. Yeah. That's what I was thinking about. Yeah.
Shizor notwithstanding.
Yes.
It's a truly delightful arc. Honestly, in it, you've got to kind of get into the feel with the dialogue. It is so incredibly wordy. So incredibly wordy. It
Yes.
almost feels like it was written by somebody in the 1940s. You see here? It
I
almost
think
has
that's
that
my
feel.
problem with it. Like, I can't get into it because there's so much reading. And I know that sounds incredibly lazy, but it's like it makes the pages look busy, I guess.
Oh yeah, so much so. But if you
Yes.
can get into the art style and the writing style and the conceit of it all, which mind you are three just tremendous hurdles to have to get past. If you can get into it and immerse yourself and go with the flow, which is what's required, it actually has some great stuff. So in this first arc, and we can move on, Han mentions skipping Sunday school. This happens in Star Wars
So
number
there's
7.
Sundays in Star Wars.
Not
And-
just Sundays, but church.
And church, yeah.
And
Wow.
Han's like, oh, you shouldn't have skipped Sunday school, Chewie. And Chewie says, Yarg. And then at the end of it, Han has learned a lesson about prejudice. And he makes this great point about like not judging people.
Good,
And
he's evolving.
the rest of my notes, Chewie absolutely incinerates this fool with his bowcaster. Just absolutely not just blows him up, but disintegrated him like Boba Fett, right?
Jared, you've got
And-
multiple like quotes of the year going here.
and then Chewie at the party gets all the girls. It's got
I
some
love
great
that.
stuff.
I love that so much. He deserves it.
Yeah. Whew, that's a lot.
Oh,
And so
man.
there's some other really good storylines I read. I think the series picks up overall around the 50s. Issues 51
Oh,
and 52 are leaps and bounds better in terms of feeling more like Star Wars. So that's a super weapon story called To Take the Tarkin. Leia and a team of rebels infiltrate a super weapon, which is cool. And spoiler alert for this 45-year-old story, Leia reprograms the ionizer and makes the entire battle station blow up. So it's
Nice.
kind of cool
That's
that
sick.
Leia blows up the Death Star this time, right? And so it's actually leaps and bounds better in terms of feeling like Star Wars. And so when Mary Jo Duffy comes on the later in the run, around 80, what I read, those were a lot better as well. So it did progress with time, despite having some iffy bits here and there.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it is wild how much the series can kind of waver in terms of quality, even in these early issues here. Like in our fun one, just because you brought it up, I wanted to decide to mention it. Issue 30, the subtitle, A Princess Alone, is all about, it's literally a solo adventure of Princess Leia on a factory world as she goes across it, shooting stormtroopers, like instilling trying to make contact with a local group of rebels. It's just kind of a fun one-off story where, as I said, it's all about Princess Leia just doing her own adventure here.
That's awesome.
And it kind of has a clunky, if well-meaning, like narrative about like planting the seeds of hope. Like when she leaves the planet, she's talking to her driver. It's like, but you didn't actually do anything. It's like, well, but I talked to the people and I made content and reminded them that there are people fighting the Empire. And like she ends like, the most important thing we can give these people is hope. And it's like,
That's
I
good.
didn't realize
is
that was
good,
such a
yeah.
big theme that they were already picking up on back then.
There's a lot of stuff in this series where I'm thinking like, this is so ridiculous. And it's the color scheme is just like more of a 70s Marvel superhero comic than it is Star Wars. And the writing is just, it's not the tone of Star Wars. And then there's so many bits where I'm like, this is just, you just copy pasted a classic sci-fi villain story over my Star Wars. But then just about every single issue I got frustrated with came back around with a little nugget like that, Caleb. Exactly. Just a little nugget to kind of
That's all you need.
tease my Star Wars side a little bit.
I
That's
love
right.
that. I
Now,
love that so
I mentioned
much.
the old crusty farts before we move on. There's one I forgot to mention.
Oh boy.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Looks great when he's just being his old wizardy self, giving advice and looking down on Han Solo. But there's one panel in particular with Obi-Wan that's a little different.
All right, we ready
So-
for this?
No.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is the immolation of Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is when Obi-Wan gives up the goat, and that classic scene in the movie, right?
Right.
The classic
I
scene where he
mean,
looks
you
at
all remember
Vader.
that, right?
He looks at Vader and he says, what does he say? Strike me down, Darth, and I'll become more powerful than you ever imagined. And then he disappears. Vader strikes him down, but is an empty robe. He steps on it a couple times, picks up the lightsaber, and walks away. And he's like,
And
"Oh,
you hear Luke going, "No,
there's no body." Well, in the comic, tell the good folks what we're looking at here.
Okay, let me try. So it is a point of view shot of from Vader. So you see his arms coming into the bottom of the part of the frame as he's holding his strawberry flavored lightsaber, because that's not red, that's strawberry ice cream flavored lightsaber coming out as it hits an Obi-Wan, and the onomatopoeia, the sound it makes is Zarak, as it hits
a very good one. Yeah.
A T-posing Obi-Wan who is bursting into orange flames, it looks like. And it looks like they did the artwork on a pane of glass and then like mushed it with their finger.
And he's kind of making the scream face, or the Home Alone face. There it is.
Like
she's zoomed in on it.
Yeah, Lord. Like,
this is like a friggin' Van Gogh painting, y'all.
Or like the Edward Monk's The Scream. Like, it's wild. It almost like reminds me of some like weird like crucifix art, because Obi-Wan is clearly T-posing here as he's being like firebirded, like here, like the artist must have read the thing, Darth Vader strikes down Obi-Wan and he disappears. It's like, that's not cool enough.
No,
I'll show you disappearing.
There's not enough fire.
Yeah, he just bursts into flame, instantaneously bursts into flame when the lightsaber strikes him. Even Obi-Wan's lightsaber is strawberry flavored.
Yeah, everybody. I mean, listen, that is the only good flavor in any hard candy. Y'all just say. I mean, of course. So, of course, they both have strawberry flavored lightsabers.
Exactly. Unless maybe since Vader's the villain, this is actually cherry flavored.
I am glad that I had the chance to show that off in some form or fashion. Though apologies to everybody who had to stare at that.
No, I'm happy.
Exactly.
I'm happy that this was, shown somewhere. I mean, more people need to see that.
They do. I agree. More people need to see this.
Yeah, definitely. So
go out and buy your local 40-year-old comic today.
Yeah, exactly. So I think next we want to talk about a few characters who showed up in this comic and then reappeared. This is a really interesting list that Caleb and I threw together. Caleb, you want to kick us off here?
Yes. This one, in no particular order, this was the one that started me thinking about it. In the middle part of this series, well, early middle part, like around issue 20, they introduced a character called Orman Tag, and the rest of the Tag family. General Tag was one of the bridge officers on the Death Star who blew up. I think he was the one. Was he the one who said, who got originally choked out by Vader? I think that was.
If it is, that is not the same man.
No, it's not. It's his brother.
Oh! I got you. Yeah. Yes, that you're correct. Yeah, his brother.
Yes. The first one he chokes out. The one with the red hair. Anyway, he gets he is expanded on because I guess they liked his family name. So they introduced first Orman Tag here, as well as several of other brothers and sisters. He's kind of a major antagonist for this first part of the series, kind of as a lesser Vader. He himself wields a lightsaber because he's obsessed with defeating Darth Vader. Because for those watching along, you'll see that Orman here has a kind of a wacky looking pointy headgear over his eyes because he was blinded by Vader. I guess, kind of a proto Geordi LaForge from Star Trek. He was blinded by Vader, so he's now obsessed with trying to overpower and defeat Vader one-on-one, mano-a-mano via lightsaber.
Wow.
So, it's kind of fascinating because the rest of these Tag family show up in the 2020 Dr. Aphra run by Alyssa Wong. And
Yeah.
if this character really only appeared during the Bosch one shot there with his family, but his character design was almost exactly the same. He still had
Yeah.
the wacky looky eye gear here. The rest of the other characters like Silas, Tag, like their character designs are almost one to one. Like you can clearly tell which Tag members are which in the new series. So it's fascinating that they're bringing along.
Domina Tag, is that his sister?
That's his sister, yes. And
Yes.
she does she kind of made a surprise appearance there. I won't say too much because I think it's actually like a minor like
Okay.
twist in there.
She's
But like
she's in these comics. She's in the Valence run. Somewhere along the line in the Valence
exactly.
storyline. Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah,
don't remember that. That's cool.
she's a major player in the previous and in current canon, like probably far more so, because it's fun to have a female villain in Star Wars. But there might be more on that later, right, Jared?
Yeah, I've got more to say about that Valence run. It
Exactly.
is. Oh, and another female villain. Oh, I see what you're doing. You
Yeah,
teed
see,
me up.
Oh,
with that
I'm setting you
transition.
up.
Ah, pretty good.
Exactly. But we're not, we just want to, talk a little bit more. Got some questions here. Like, is it too convenient for a non-force wielder to use a lightsaber? I don't like in this part of canon, I don't think it's really been established as like lightsabers are only weapons for Jedi. They're weapons of Jedi. So, but I think it's fun. Almost like as weird as this sounds, like as a power scaling sort of thing for Luke to have lightsaber battles against with a fellow or enemy lightsaber user who isn't Darth Vader.
That's right. They had to have that. That's why Lumaya's light whip is really cool. It provides a really cool hand-to-hand combat kind of puzzle for Luke to figure out. There's another character from that first arc that I talked about with 8 from Aduba 3 who has a lightsaber, which I totally forgot. And I'm really glad we brought up.
It's like Don Juan Quixote.
Don Juan Quixote is his name.
Yes.
And he wears a suit of armor, just straight up medieval knight armor.
Yeah,
and he has a friggin' lightsaber. But everybody pokes fun at him. They're all like, Don Juan, what are you going to do with that lightsaber? I know you're not a real Jedi, right? And he's like, I am of the Order of the Jedi Knights, and I will slay the beast myself. And he goes out and takes on the dinosaur by himself. They're like, hold on, he can't do this. Don't let him do this. And so then like Han jumps in and he freaking takes the lightsaber from Don Juan Quixote. I'm not making this stuff up. So it actually, I think, Caleb, employs this trope really well, having multiple other characters wield lightsabers. It just makes the series more interesting. They kind of poke fun at it a little bit. So that was something that I actually thought was successful in the series.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wrote the question honestly because it I think in like canon Star Wars, lightsabers don't seem to be that common, unless you're a Jedi. Like we don't just see, random people carrying around lightsabers, I guess. And so I was kind of shocked at the amount of people I saw in the 77 run carrying lightsabers. Although I guess at that point, we didn't have all the different weapons that you have in like canon Star Wars now. So, it was hard to, be more creative, I suppose. So, I mean, I think they did it. I agree, Jared. I think that they did it well because they made sure to tell the audience like, hey, these people cannot use the Force. They just have a lightsaber. Like it was. You always knew where you stood with that, I guess.
Exactly.
Right.
We have another question here. Is Orman Tag one of the best antagonists of the series? Not a long shot. Not in the slightest. No. He's like, as I said, in the current canon, they relegated him to be a second banana to his sister. And as much as Star Wars Twitter and Star Wars fans like to get upset about, various rewrites of things, no one cared. No one said, oh, my favorite character, Orman Tag, is being like downgraded. No one even noticed.
Domin is a little bit more conniving. He's a little bit more brutish. There's some pretty decent villains. There's some pretty mustache twirly ones, such as the next one here, Crimson Jack, aka
Jack.
Redbeard. Proud of myself because this is a callback to later in the issue because issue 5 of the Halcyon Legacy came out, and I remember reading issue 1 and I saw this character here.
Look at his outfit.
Spoiler warning. Crimson Jack, aka Redbeard, is a pirate that antagonizes Han Solo in a couple of issues here. But now in the framing story for the Halcyon Legacy, he is a pirate who is attacking that ship. I remember reading that. I'm like, wait a second. they're bringing back Crimson Jack. What the
Wait,
heck?
it's the same guy? No way.
That is the
Yes,
same guy.
And I remember Caleb messaged us and was like, guys, did you notice the Legends reference in Halcyon Legacy? And we were all like, no, can you clue us in? And he's like,
Exactly.
it's Crimson Jack, and we all like had to look up on Wikipedia who the heck that even was. And
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
so
in
Jared,
the
did you
very
recognize him?
first... No, but it makes sense now
Oh.
because I've read that issue. It's been a while of Halcyon Legacy. It's
Yeah.
the very beginning of issue 7. It's like one of the very first scenes after the adaptation of Star Wars. Crimson Jack busts up into the Millennium Falcon while Han is counting his credits. He's
Mhm.
like, 1,000 coins, 2,000 coins, 3. All right, Chewie, drinks are on me tonight. Oh no, somebody's breaking into the ship. And it's this pirate. It takes all his money and he chooses to leave Han Solo alive. And the point is like, we might need to steal money from him again in the future.
Oh goodness.
yeah. It's so that's cool. That's a cool appearance. I did not catch that.
Yeah, it's really. I want to point out how 70s this outfit is. Like, I mean,
Emma, could you describe it to our viewers that listening
Yes.
along at home?
What if I told you I unironically dig it?
I mean, you love what you love. I'm not going to judge. Okay, so what we are looking at here is a very ginger man. He's
I love that you said that as one word, ginger man.
Ginger man.
Ginger man, yes. He has very ginger hair and a very full looking ginger beard.
Reminds me of my friend from college we called Sir Nathan the Red.
Is that because he had red hair?
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Like, just
awesome.
like this, but not buff.
That's hilarious. Yes, he's also very buff. Yes. He's wearing I think it's black, but it's outlined with blue, so maybe it's so black that it almost looks blue to the eye. It's like I would describe it as like a superhero outfit in that it looks, oh boy.
He has
Got
pointed
shoulder pads.
shoulders.
He's got
Yeah.
shoulder
Pointed
pads, but there's no sleeves or anything, so it's
course.
sleeveless
it's a
with pointy
turtleneck.
shoulder pads with a turtleneck, and then the bottoms part of it.
Yeah, describe that, Emma.
Yeah, that looks like it looks like a woman's swimsuit bottom. Like, honestly.
Here's the best description. You
It's
know
a
how
onesie.
we mentioned his arms don't have sleeves. Well, neither do his legs.
His pants don't have sleeves either. There's no sleeves on those pants.
But a big belt buckle, which
They
is
outline his yeah, it's good.
red. And the biggest friggin' holster
Yes.
you've ever seen.
You can tell he
It's-
got it just to show off, make up for something else.
The holster seriously goes all the way from his hip down to his knee. And
Oh, man.
armbands like Russell
Armbands.
Westbrook. I mean, it is
Yeah.
really...
It's a
he's,
look.
He's ready to go,
It almost looks like he's a scuba diver who gave up halfway through getting
Yeah.
dressed.
Yeah.
He's like,
And
"I'll
these
keep the
guys around
digs
him,
and
I
become
don't
a
know who
pirate."
they are, but they are equally very 70s. Like,
They are. Somehow they never once for a second caught my eye until you said that.
that's
One
so
of-
funny.
Yeah.
At first,
they
I looked
looked
at
a
the
little-
green guy. I was like, "Is that Peter Pan, bro? Like, who is that?"
Buff Peter Pan
Yeah,
with
with a
a
gun.
bandolier wrapped around his shoulder.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
love
with a
that.
machine gun. Wow. How about that?
Oh,
Marvel Comics,
man.
everybody. So
Yes.
Crimson Jack canon again. Cool. Didn't know it.
Yeah, very interesting. Then the next one, I mean, I feel like we've talked about this a lot, but it's really worth mentioning again. That Jackson the Leppy made his debut in the Marvel 77 run. I couldn't find a high-res image of him from the 77 run, so we're just gonna have to use this one from Star Wars
It does
Adventures.
not exist.
Yes, it does not exist if it's not on the Google.
There's a really rad shot in his first appearance, though, where he does a double, like a donkey punch.
Oh, I
or the
remember
ultimate
that,
punch. Both
yeah.
hands, both feet.
Love it. Yeah.
Well,
I
he
mean,
makes a lot of little one-liners, which is cool.
yeah, lots of one-liners. He's kind of a badass, but you don't expect it.
He
Also,
tries to
green.
sometimes
flirt.
super clumsy.
He's a big flirt. There's one of the ladies on
Yeah.
the team.
I was about to say, like, he winds up teaming up with the girl of the team, the A from Abdullah.
Oh,
Amazing.
yeah.
I said they
Yeah.
had all your great characters: the porcupine, the knight, the droid, and the girl.
And the bunny.
She's the most competent out of all of them.
I mean, really, yeah.
The porcupine, the knight, the bunny, and the girl.
It was every great 70s team, you know?
Oh my god. It's like,
Oh my gosh.
oh. Yeah, wow, that's amazing. So anyways, yeah, he doesn't have like a huge presence in Legends, to be honest. He's only in 5 other issues, besides issue 8. But he was brought back in canon. He first appeared in the Star Wars Adventures annual in 2018. He appears in several other issues of IDW comics, including starring in the Ghost of Vader's Castle miniseries. He also had his own story in From a Certain Point of View, The Empire Strikes Back, which was really neat. And he is always in canon, written by Jackson superfan Cavan Scott. Which I love that he was like, you know what? I love this super obscure and random character, and now I have the power to bring him back. So let's just do it. I think I would do the same, you know?
I wrote the Jackson collection for utini.com.
Nice.
And I did it shortly after, maybe right before the Star Wars Archives episode all about him, in which Jose fell in love with Jackson.
Yeah.
And then they ran off together to start a life together. But in it, I quoted an interview with Cavan Scott from Living Force, according to author interviews from Living Force tonight, which is weird. In it, they ask him about Jackson, and his quote is, and it is the most endearing thing I've ever heard on a podcast in my entire life. Sweetly into the microphone, Cavan Scott says, "I love that green rabbit." And that's the featured quote in the piece. It's a direct quote.
Oh my god, no way, Jared. That is amazing. I didn't know that.
I also love him. And I think,
Yeah.
for me, I did not read these growing up. I've read them some sparingly in recent years. But my history with him is him being poked fun at in the 2015 reintroduction of the Marvel Star Wars. They made like 40, maybe 100 variant covers for
Yes.
Star Wars.
Oh, that's right.
I wanted to
Yeah.
bring this up because his first canon appearance is on a cover, one of those variant covers where you see him desperately like trying to
that's
peek in through
right.
like a door of where all the
Totally
characters
forgot
are
about that.
desperately barring it against his passage.
So yeah, the joke is, hey, Marvel's doing Star Wars comics again. Are they going to bring back Jackson? So all the main characters are closing the door on Jackson. They're like, shh, don't tell him that we're in here, which is hilarious. But he's back. And the way that Cavan describes him as this character that nobody takes seriously, as kind of representative for somebody who nobody believes in and yet has something to bring to the table, is kind of beautiful. And I'm on board with it. I think he's been treated with a lot of love and respect and humor in Cavan's reintroduction of the character. And with all of that in mind, when I go back and read his appearances in these comics, it's one of the things that works for me. Is he's so extra, he's so ridiculous. Him hitting on Ameza throughout the battle. They're like, right punch, left hook, ultimate punch, double kick. Hey, Ameza, you want to go get some drinks later? Hiya. No, Jackson, you're a rabbit. I'm a woman. It's like, it's
like,
so ridiculous.
Have you ever seen the documentary Who Killed Roger Rabbit or Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, right.
She says, if people saw us together, they would talk.
It's so goofy. Oh my goodness. I mean, but in a good way, like I don't think I mean, unless you're super toxic, right? But I don't think many people look back on that and think like, oh, it completely ruined the series for me. It was just like one little, kind of quirk.
People hated him. I think when they thought back to the Marvel series, I heard a lot of in the early to mid 2000s, oh, that's the series with that rabbit. I think he's redeemed his reputation a little bit within the fandom, and rightly so. I think, however, that it only works in comics.
I would
not
agree.
in every comic. Most of the Dark Horse stuff is a little edgier,
yes,
grittier.
I agree.
90s, and so yeah, there's the image.
Yes.
Beautiful. Hello, anybody? I can hear you breathing.
And it looks so realistic too. It's kind of creepy.
It's
scary.
Like human Jackson is. I'm glad with the art direction that they've taken with the current comics of having him a little more cartoon.
I agree.
That's a good way to put Jackson. Now, well, like we have the perfect transaction. But is there anything else we want to say about Jackson? Was he too silly? Is he just silly enough? I think he's just silly enough. I think Star Wars can do a lot when it takes itself with a bit of a grain of salt and can play into the like, especially like he's like the embodiment of the 70s camp of Star Wars, which I'm glad the series didn't wholly embrace, but there's still
Mhm.
elements of there of like that the camp, the like good versus evil, just like very classic storytelling. So seeing Jackson as like a representation of that
Mhm.
is a lot of great it's great. I really like Jackson. Yes, him being back in canon is an amazing sort of thing.
It's like I
I
love
agree.
the 60s Batman show.
Yes,
Unironically, capital L, love it.
Adam West, yes.
But I also love some dark and gritty, moody, where did the other drugs go kind of Batman. So in the same way, I like my Star Wars when it's yeah, legacies, this edgy protagonist who's doing drugs and taking names. But then we don't endorse drugs here on the show.
Correct.
But a very edgier version, it can exist alongside this. They can.
Yeah.
Why not both? Why not
Yeah,
both?
Exactly.
why not both? There's a little bit
Well,
of something out there for everyone, and if Jackson's not for you, that's okay. There's way more content without Jackson than there is with him. So
exactly.
Very
And
true.
on the opposite end, we have Jackson Gillespie. And yeah, if we want to talk dark and gritty and someone who was
yeah.
originally introduced in the old canon and brought back in, there's
Yes.
no better poster child than Barrett Valance.
And there's friggin' Jackson on that cover.
They're
Oh my
in the same
goodness.
issue.
Yeah.
That's right. It's like
Yeah.
Star Wars number 16.
Well,
Yep.
I did pull this image because holy smokes, you guys. What am I looking at? His skin is melting off.
It's fake skin. It's fake
Well,
skin.
yeah,
It's
but
okay.
still, that's disgusting.
It's pretty rough. Like for those of you who
You mean
don't know,
rad? It's rad, is
yeah,
what it
yeah,
is.
it is pretty cool.
we did an I feel like we did an entire episode on this, episode 59, not too long ago, about Valence in the Terminator franchise, about the covers here. But yeah, Valence is a human cyborg, and but it's not about relations. He's just a cyborg. He is a bounty hunter. He shows up as a guy with a massive chip on his shoulder. He shoots every droid he sees, even when he doesn't have to. Just some fascinating character work they've done him with personal sacrifice. But he is now back in canon, starring alongside Han Solo. Canvas has stealthily introduced him without saying his name in the Imperial Cadet arc, and then they
Yeah.
finally brought him in for the lead of the whole Bounty Hunter series.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is true. It was really interesting, kind of, when the Bounty Hunters series started, I went and read the issues with Valence from 77. And the first issue from 77 he appears in is number 16. And he only appears in 3 other issues. So again, not a whole. He's similar to Jackson. Not a whole lot of pre-existing Legends content on him, but still, I mean, fertile ground for a lot of stories. And like you said, he first appears in canon in Han Solo Imperial Cadet. At that point, we weren't exactly sure who he was, but obviously he bore like a resemblance to Valence, but I'm not sure if anybody noticed. And so the backstory is basically in the Han Solo Imperial Cadet miniseries for Valence, where basically he goes to the Imperial Academy with Han Solo. Han Solo saves him from like a horrible accident. And basically has the cybernetics as a result of that accident, but goes through his life feeling like he owes a debt to Han Solo, which then creates a really interesting story for the future, because a lot of his ventures has him crossing paths with Han Solo again. Some other canon comics that he's in, Target Vader, Bounty Hunters, War of the Bounty Hunters, Crimson Reign, and more recently in Darth Vader, the 2020 run. So I think that he's a super, interesting character. They've been using him a ton in canon. I think that this is probably, well, I don't think it's probably, I think it's, you can't argue that this is the best character converted from the 77 series to canon. He is absolutely the most successful in terms of screen time, you know what I mean, like
Well,
page time
page
and
time.
yeah, all that. And I think
Yeah.
I really enjoy Valence, but one thing that I was thinking about when I was writing about Valence in the show notes is that we are getting a lot of Valence right now. He was,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, some of the older, and by older I mean they were like 5 years ago, series like Han Solo, Imperial Cadet, and Target Vader, but everything else has started in 2020 or after. So 2 years ago or later. So is he being overused right now? That is my question. I personally say yes, but that
Saw that one coming.
yes, but that being said, the reason I'm asking this question is not because I need to share my thoughts on it, it's because I really want to know what you guys think.
I would say no, just not at that, not quite yet. Now, keep in mind, I haven't like gotten caught up on recent canon. I'm kind of playing to get ahead so I can kind of make a big leap and kind of catch it forward. So maybe after I read all the more recent comics, I'll probably be like, ugh, too much Valence, spoil soup. But I think he's being used the right way. I did like one more recent Bounty Hunters series that I'm reading. Like they pretty much took that his character and took him out of there and put him in the Darth Vader comic.
Yeah.
And like just the Bounty Hunter series, since it's not technically the Valence series, it's just continuing with a other group of bounty hunters, and they're following that story. So I'm glad that they can feel like they can take him out of like his series that he was in and start putting him in other ones. Like, it's a big connected Star Wars universe out here.
I feel like they've dialed him back to a calmer place,
Yeah.
and I'm anxious to see where his story will go in the future. A few years ago, there was a huge blitz of Valence content all at once, and I was
Yes.
like, "Why should I care?" And so I read Target Vader, Han Solo, Imperial Cadet, Bounty Hunters, and boy, it was a lot. And I had to like research, go back and read the Marvel stuff, and I wrote the guide for Utini.com. There's a reading collection about Valence. It's really good. I wrote it. And
It's good.
in it, I actually think, Emma, that I read this like right before you and I hung out last summer. And I bought this issue because I remember thinking, you might have been on an episode of Legends Look Back or something, that the battle between Valence and Vader in it might be issue 17 or 18 is one
Mhm.
of the coolest moments in this entire series, when
You were telling me that when we were at the
Valence's
comic
cyborg
shop. I remember
okay,
this.
yeah,
Yes.
Valence's cyborg hand comes up out of the acid lava and grabs Vader by the boot. It's so cool. And so yeah, I think if you can kind of take all these pieces together and just go with it, that's my advice again, is if you can just let the story take you and immerse yourself in it, rather than being like, whoa, 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 well, who is this guy? Why is there so much stuff with him all of a sudden? You can go with it. It's fun. I mean, it's really engaging. All the stuff they've done with the character, a lot of twists and turns in this sucker's life, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, yeah, you summed it up great. Twists and turns. Um, the only reason I say yes, I feel like he's a little overused, is because it feels like he doesn't really have a place in the story right now. Like, it feels a little forced, no pun intended. To just like, his story ran out in Bounty Hunters, and now they're putting him in Darth Vader. But I
Mhm.
couldn't. I'm all caught up with Vader, and I honestly couldn't tell you what he's doing right now. So, but
I can see that. I'm curious to see if there is a long-term plan with him, or if they're waiting on writers to figure out what to do with this chess piece. See where they
yeah,
can move him around a little bit and make something fun happen with him. In which case, sure, I like Jazz as much as the next white guy. So we'll see.
yeah, I can definitely see that. One other kind of question I had is, do you guys think that a lot of Valence's charm is in the cybernetics, or do you think some of his likability kind of goes away when those cybernetics are taken away?
Oh, the cool factor for sure is
Yeah.
Yeah, like
cyborg.
he's like a superhero, and that like he has like his special power was like laser beam hands, so he can like force blast people with his palm. Like he's got neat tricks. He's like the $6 million man. Like there's something about having like the the self-made, like super cool cyborg here. Like, yes, technically that's, he's not a character, like his human parts make him a much more interesting character, but no, he's I think he's a lot of very interesting parts boiled in there. So even if you were to take away his cybernetics, well, he is the background character and kind of just a jerk in one of the Star Wars series. He wasn't really a person until we got him damaged, for lack of a better term. Like, once he's a cybernetic person, he's actually like, he's just another would have been Imperial grunt.
Yeah, I can be down with that. I think maybe my opinion has changed on that a little bit since we've been getting some flashback, little snippets of his, his time before the cybernetics. Like, I feel like I, kind of care about the person. Like, there's a person in there who has some personality and has been through some stuff. And, I feel like for me, I have a hard time separating, like what you said, Jared. Like, well, what is cool? Like, what is the coolness? And what is me being interested in him as a character? And I think I have a hard time separating that. But what are your thoughts on that, Jared?
I want to root for him. I'm interested, but I got to see a little bit of that middle in order to
Yeah.
make me
Mhm.
interested. And if they just put a
That
regular old
that red eye
face on
there.
him, I'm like, I don't need him.
I think I'm with you,
But
honestly. I just was too afraid to
Just
say
make
it.
him look a
Yeah.
little bit more visually interesting. It's a comic
Yeah.
book. Swing for the fences. Come on.
Yeah, I mean,
so
there's a
let's
dinosaur
also-
with a laser beam on his head. Why can't we just have some
Yeah,
cybernetics?
exactly. Vader. Okay, Vader gets all of his limbs taken off, and he has to refit himself with cyborg body parts made from
Yeah.
battle droids. And it's a comic book. Give me some goofy stuff. So, I'd like to see where he goes next.
Oh, I love seeing Jared
have
get
high
all riled
hopes.
up about comics.
Oh,
Jared,
Exactly. Now,
I believe you have a character that you wanted to talk
Yeah,
about.
speaking of swinging for the fences with some goofy comics characters, Shira Bree is, for my money, the most interesting character to come out of the old school Marvel comics. And by that, I mean, I've read like a dozen. So I've got a lot to catch up on. After I beat Tyler in my Legends Race to the Finish competition, I will have to binge all of these on Marvel Unlimited. Lumaya, Dark Lady of the Sith is her subtitle, which is cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
a
All
name.
right. So let me set the stage for you. Okay. It's a tale as old as time, right? She first appeared as Shira Bree, Luke's rebel girlfriend. Luke meets another rebel. Luke is single. He's looking to have a little bit of fun with the ladies. He's got a lot of girlfriends in this series, which is fun. Never turns out well, at least in
Oh,
these
Luke.
comics. He makes a girlfriend. Turns out she's an Imperial spy, so Luke shoots her down, as one does. Kills his girlfriend, doesn't go to
I
therapy.
hate it when that happens.
It'll all work itself out, I'm sure. This character was created by David Michelin and Walter Simonson back in issue 56. So then there's several issues there, a little mini arc with Shira Bree's story. That's that. Dead, shot down, end of story.
Mm-hmm.
Record scratch. No, there's more. 2 years later, she comes back in issue 88, written by Mary Jo Duffy, which just goes to show, like, we need women writing cool women
Yes.
villains. Yeah.
Definitely.
Because it's the strongest thing in this entire series. And so this time, not only does she come back, Luke's rebel girlfriend, Imperial spy that he murdered. She comes back as a cyborg dominatrix with a turban and a light whip.
Yes, we love it. We stan.
Wow.
And not only is it a light whip, it's a Cat of Nine Tails light whip. So there's like all these strands of metal fiber, and then there's also lightsaber bits that come out, which is
Lightsaber bits.
bazonkers. And in issue 96, I believe we have an image of this.
Yes, we do.
It is one of the coolest visual things in the entire series. There's 4 or 5 pages. That's how this issue begins. The first 4 or 5 pages in this issue, there's no dialogue.
Oh, interesting choice.
4 or 5 pages. That's the issue that I bought at our comic book store in Maine, Emma. 4 or
Wow.
5 pages of Luke and, let's see, it's called Duel with a Dark Lady. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 full pages with no dialogue. It's just pink and yellow and black. It's so stylistically
And as
cool.
Justin says in the chat, He-Man Luke.
yeah, Luke is ripped, but he gets his butt kicked. And so then the rest of the episode is he's got to pick himself up and figure out how to rematch her. And he does. And so then I won't spoil it. Check this one out. Definitely worth your time.
Does Luke survive?
I don't want to spoil it. Don't want to spoil it. She survived, as one does in Star Wars, and she came back as a cyborg. So it's Star Wars. Never can't keep a good man down.
Yeah. Can't kill
but
her.
not only did he not kill her the first time. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
She comes back again.
Like I think I remember this. I haven't read the books, but continue.
I feel like this whole saga has been detailed on the Star Wars archives at one point.
Yes, Luke's legendary love lives.
Okay, yeah.
Her story is told on the Valentine's Day episode. Correct. She comes back again decades later in Legacy of the Force, Corey's favorite books.
Mm-hmm.
She is one of the villains in Legacy of the Force. And that's all I'll say about that. The creative team was looking for there was a character known as the Wizard, and they were looking for who would be kind of like a cool character to pull back in from something. One of the female creatives, one of the women, I forget exactly who it was, Shirley Shapiro, maybe, one of the creative directors with Del Rey said, be considered Lumaya from the old Marvel comics and make it work, figure it out. It's been decades. It's in a totally different era of the universe. Just make it happen. And they did. And it's really awesome. It's really awesome. So
that's so cool.
And that's what works so well with those first few pages is we mentioned how wordy this series is. The fact that they chose to have 4 or 5,
complete opposite.
What I say, 7 pages of her just dueling it out with Luke is dope.
I agree.
Exactly.
That is so cool, and I feel like I need to, I need to read some more about her. She sounds super interesting.
Get caught up here. I do want to quickly say, like, when you first said her name, like, wait, isn't that Poe's mom? But no, that's for those keeping track at home. Poe's mother is Shara Bay, but
Correct.
we're talking about Shara Bree.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Yeah. Not confusing at all.
Not confusing at all. I just like. It's
but
one
that's
of those things,
legends
like,
for you, right?
were they made in a microcosm? Who knows? Like, is Poe's mom going to become a secret dark lady of the Sith with a white light whip? Maybe.
That would be really interesting, honestly.
Exactly.
Jared's so excited right now he can't even speak.
That is awesome. I would love that.
Yeah. Oh man. Wow. Well, I think we should end it on that. Honestly,
yeah, absolutely.
I think, there's no topping that amount of speculation.
Let me just spoil it.
Yeah.
Real quick. All right.
Yeah, do it.
So this is your spoiler warning. If you want to know how Luke finally defeats Lumaya, go and read it. He fashions a second lightsaber, a shorter lightsaber, a Shoto.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
So that he dual wields, and she shows up to the battle with her whip, and she's like, oh, 2 of them. No, 2 of them. And he finesses her by having a second lightsaber, and that's how he wins.
No way. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
She survived all that other stuff, and that's what got
AKA,
her.
And that's awesome, but when Rey does it to defeat Palpatine, suddenly that's no good.
There you go, Caleb. There you go.
It's she needed
just
a shorter
2
one.
lightsabers.
That's the problem. Rey should have had a shorter one as her off.
She needed her Shoto. That was the problem.
And so basically he's able to wrap her whips around the blades and disarm her. And then the invading alien fleet shows up, and so I don't know what happens after that. But so there's a cliffhanger.
Wow.
Anyway, it's cool.
That was a fascinating roller coaster.
You're welcome.
And I'm so glad I know that now. Oh wow! Well, this has been a really interesting episode. I'm very glad that we came back around and revisited this series with our very good friend Jared. Jared, you have an episode of Legends Look Back tomorrow. Do you want to tell the fine folks what is going to happen tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern Time?
Yes, we are on our countdown to 100. We've got Legends Look Back episode 100 happening next week because of scheduling conflicts. So tomorrow night And that 100 episode, a very special guest. I'll give you a hint. He's a doctor.
That narrows it down
And
to 2.
Yeah, it does. So tune in to episode 100 to find out. Very, very fun. Big thing. Big milestone for us. It's very exciting. I'm going to wear a suit.
Ooh.
Next episode, tomorrow night, is a bonus episode. It will not be live. It will be our ultimate Star Wars celebration highlight reel, Legends edition. And
Ooh.
I spent 20 hours editing this thing.
Wow.
Wolf.
And it looks like it was edited by a 5-year-old.
No,
because
I'm sure that's not.
I don't know the technology very well, but finally stitched together all of our celebration footage. Emma, you're in it, and Caleb, you're not.
Ooh.
But Emma, you are.
I don't remember what I said or did in it, so I'm excited to watch it.
You hand out buttons and you pose for pictures.
Awesome. Well, that's great, and yeah, an early congratulations on 100.
Mhm.
That is
Exciting times.
huge, and yeah, but we're gonna
Thank
talk
you.
to you again before then,
Next week.
because next week is going to be me and Jared and Freddie. Y'all, we are talking about Dark Empire. Finally, yes, we've got Naked Palpatine. We've got what are the world vacuum things?
The World Devastators.
Yes,
Luke looking like a Scooby-Doo villain.
Yes,
That's right.
Luke
Yeah.
and Luke, right? That's the one with Luke.
No,
No,
this does
no.
not have Luke. This
Well,
has
I mean, there's a lot of
Palpatine's
cloning
clones.
issues, though.
Yes,
so.
yes.
There
Oh,
are clones.
Yes.
Boba Fett's back.
Boba Fett. Oh, is this Hot Dog Boba Fett?
It is.
Oh my gosh, we have 2 memes in one.
And Cam Kennedy's amazing watercolor artwork. It's
Oh,
a
yes.
great series.
Yeah,
It
so
is a lot.
I literally cannot wait for this episode with the 3 of us. It feels, it feels full circle to finally be talking about, the one that started all the memes. So that'll be really awesome. And of course on Monday on the Living Force is their Shadow of the Sith Roundtable Part 1, which is going to be awesome and reminds me I should finish that book. Alrighty, y'all. And so yeah,
I'm excited
thank
too.
you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. Thank you again, Jared, for joining us tonight. This was a lot of fun. Glad to do it, and
I've had a blast.
yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We always appreciate you having you on the show, and yeah, I was gonna say, we'll have you back soon, but we already know when that's gonna be, so
Mhm.
no lies there. All right, that'll do it for this week's episode of The Cosmic Force. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show right here on YouTube, where you can hear us live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We also encourage you to subscribe to our audio version on whatever podcast platform you listen to. You can also follow us on Twitter and tweet at the show at Cosmic Force Show to stay informed about Star Wars comics news. Or follow the hosts individually. I'm at IrmaJedi26, Caleb is at Caleb Lamanak, Jared is at Jared Q Mays. For reviews, articles, and news for the rest of the expanded universe, be sure to visit utini.com. We encourage you to visit our Utini Discord community by going to utini.com/discord, and you can help support the show directly by heading to patreon.com/utini. Start receiving extra perks starting at just $5 a month. Special thank you to Brian Dooley, Patrick Ortiz, Earl Q, Robert Thomas, and Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, and Elizabeth Cloutier and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command for their amazing support. Thank you again to Caleb and Jared for hosting with me tonight, and a special thank you to our listeners for joining us. We truly appreciate you. See everyone next week, and as always, may the Force be with you.